There is a point where people stop respecting you, and it often has nothing to do with your competence or your results. It happens when they fully understand your limits. The moment someone figures out how far they can push you, how much you can tolerate, or how you will react under pressure, your power over that situation begins to shrink. You become predictable. And once you are predictable, you are easier to control. Most people think power is about strength, visibility, and proving what you are capable of. But Niccolò Machiavelli approached power differently. He understood that influence is not only based on your actual abilities, but on what others believe you might do. The moment people clearly see your limits, they stop guessing. And when there is nothing left to guess, there is nothing left to fear. This idea is not about manipulating others or becoming deceptive for the sake of control. It is about protecting yourself in environments where people naturally test boundaries. Whether in work, relationships, or social situations, people often push as far as they are allowed. If you make your limits obvious, you make it easier for others to calculate exactly how to deal with you, and sometimes how to take advantage of you. In this video, you will understand why revealing your limits weakens your position, how people unconsciously test and expand your boundaries, and how you can maintain control without needing to argue, explain, or prove anything. Think about your own experiences. There are moments when people start asking more from you, expecting more from you, or even disrespecting you slightly more than before. Often, this shift happens after they realize you will tolerate it. Once they understand your threshold, they adjust their behavior to match it. Number 1. Limits become targets. Think about it. You say yes to everything. Just one more task, one more favor. At first, it feels small, almost nothing. You don't even notice it. And then it happens again. Another task lands on your desk. You sigh, but you do it anyway. And another. And another. People around you start noticing. Not saying it out loud, but noticing. They start to measure you, to see how far they can push. Imagine a colleague. Quiet, always calm, always taking on the extra work. You watch as they pile it on. You see them nodding, smiling politely, staying late, and somewhere inside you realize, this person will do whatever you ask. They will carry it. You could ask for more tomorrow, and you do. Or think of a friend, someone who always forgives. A text arrives at 2 a.m., a mistake, an apology, the same thing over and over. You forgive, you let it slide, and it happens again. And again. The pattern doesn't feel cruel. Not yet. But slowly, it becomes expected. That forgiveness is not just an act. It is a line in the sand, one that others will quietly approach and cross. Even the small things count. Tolerating a comment, ignoring a glance, laughing at the wrong joke. Each moment you accept it, it signals something. Not with words, with posture, with silence, with the absence of pushback. Your limits, your real boundaries, don't stop people. Not really. They point the way. They are like invisible arrows. Others move toward them without thinking. Slowly, steadily, until one day you notice, the weight is heavier, the behavior is louder, and you wonder, how did it get here? Because human behavior, quietly, relentlessly, finds the edges you leave open. Number 2. Predictability reduces respect. Watch a room. Someone walks in, everyone notices. Not because they're loud, not because they're flashy, but because no one is sure what they will do next. Maybe they'll speak. Maybe they'll stay silent. Maybe they'll react. Maybe they won't. There's a pause before the first words are said. Everyone feels it. A subtle tension. Now imagine someone else. Always the same. Always polite. Always agreeable. Always nodding, always staying, always forgiving. People notice that too, but differently. They relax. They stop wondering. They stop guessing. And slowly, they stop holding back. Think about a friend or a coworker. You know exactly how they'll react. Ask them to help. They'll say yes. Mistreat them a little. They won't react. Push a boundary. They won't leave. After a while, you realize, you don't even have to think twice. You just act, because they won't. Even small things reveal it. The way they smile at a rude comment. The way they laugh when someone crosses a line. The way they never interrupt, never leave, never refuse. People notice, quietly, not with words, but in how they act around them, how far they stretch, how casually they bend the rules. Respect lives in that uncertainty, in the pause, in the moment you don't quite know what someone will do. Once it becomes clear, once it becomes safe, respect thins. The weight disappears. The tension vanishes. You're still there, but somehow, less. Number 3. Unseen limits create caution. Some people talk a lot about what they will and won't allow. They repeat it, over and over. I won't stand for this. I won't let that happen. And at first, it seems clear, simple, easy to follow. But watch what happens. Those words, they invite something. A question, a test, a little push, maybe not openly, maybe subtle, a glance, a comment, a step closer than before. People feel it. They sense the boundaries, and their curiosity starts to grow. Slowly, quietly, they push. Not with malice, just to see what will happen. Now imagine someone different, quiet, reserved. Nothing is announced, nothing is loudly defended, but the actions are consistent. When a line is crossed, something shifts. A task isn't done. A door closes. A hand is withdrawn. There's no lecture, no speech, just the consequence, just the moment. It's invisible, and that's the point. People don't know exactly where the line is, and because they don't know, they move differently. They pause. They hesitate. They check themselves. Maybe a word is left unsaid. Maybe a joke is swallowed. Maybe they don't step too far. Even small moments carry it. The way someone stops a story when you frown. The way someone hesitates before asking for a favor. The way a colleague avoids overstepping, just in case. It's quiet. It's subtle. But it shapes the space around you more than any spoken rule ever could. Limits you don't announce. They breathe. They are felt. And that uncertainty, it makes people careful. Number 4. Exposure creates leverage. Think of a moment at work. A colleague notices the smallest hesitation in your voice, or a twitch in your expression. Maybe it's irritation. Maybe it's worry. They see it, and without a word, they remember it. Later, that memory finds its way into a conversation, a task, a decision. You didn't say anything. You didn't even act dramatically, but they know. Or a friend, someone you trust. You let slip what really frustrates you. One small story, one late-night complaint, and over time, they bring it up. Not loudly, not to mock, just casually, just enough. You notice the tightening in your chest, the subtle weight of their words, and you wonder how they knew. It happens everywhere. At home, in the office, on the phone, in silence. Every time you show exactly how much something touches you, or how far a remark reaches, it becomes information. And people, quietly, unconsciously, can act on it. That doesn't mean you stop feeling. It doesn't mean you hide every thought, but it does mean you choose carefully. Who sees what, when, and how. Some spaces reward openness. Some punish it. Some people hold it with respect. Others do not. The ones who don't notice. The ones who notice and wait. The ones who push. They exist everywhere. And when you give them more than necessary, you give them a tool. Control over what you reveal. That is quiet protection. It doesn't shout. It doesn't warn. But it keeps the space around you safer than any explanation ever could. Number 5. Controlled responses increase authority. Think about a conversation. Someone says something sharp. A jab, a question, a challenge. The first instinct is to reply. Immediately. To react. To match their energy. But watch what happens when you don't. When you pause. A moment stretches. Half a second. 1 second. 2. The room feels it. The other person notices. Maybe they shift in their chair. Maybe their words stumble. Maybe they try to fill the silence. But you don't. You wait. That pause is heavy. Not loud, not obvious, but it carries. It gives them time. Time to reconsider. Time to think, did I say too much? Did I push too far? Sometimes they correct themselves, without a word from you. Sometimes they hesitate before speaking again. Even small things show it. A delayed text reply, a measured nod instead of an instant reaction, a quiet glance instead of snapping back. People notice. In the silence they read you. They measure you. They sense that your thoughts aren't rushed, that your decisions aren't impulsive. And slowly, quietly, it changes the space around you. Your presence feels heavier. Your words carry more weight when they finally come. You are no longer a person to push or prod. You are someone who acts with care, someone who cannot be hurried. Immediate reactions are cheap. They reveal too much. But controlled responses, they don't shout. They don't explain. They linger. And that lingering, that is authority. Number 6. Limited access builds value. Picture this. You answer every call, every message, every knock on your door. Always there, always ready. At first it seems normal, friendly even, helpful. But over time, people stop noticing the effort. They stop feeling it. Your presence becomes ordinary, expected, taken for granted. No one thinks twice. Not because they're cruel, but because it's always there, always available. The weight of your time fades. Now imagine the opposite. You respond selectively. You choose the moments. Sometimes you say yes, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you arrive late, sometimes you leave early. There's a pause before your presence, and in that pause, people notice. They think, I should be careful. I should pay attention. Even small details matter. A delayed reply to a message, a reserved nod in a meeting, a quiet exit from a conversation. They feel it even if they don't say it. Something shifts. Your time suddenly matters. Your energy suddenly counts. It's not about ignoring anyone, not about shutting people out. It's subtle, quiet, intentional, just enough to remind people that your presence isn't endless, that it carries weight, that it is something they can't take for granted. Scarcity works in silence. It doesn't brag. It doesn't announce itself. It lingers, and that lingering makes your time more valuable than words ever could. For the next week, practice restraint in what you reveal. Do not immediately show your full capacity. Avoid responding instantly to every situation. Let your actions communicate your boundaries instead of explaining them repeatedly. Observe how people respond when they are less certain about your limits. You will notice a shift in how they approach you, how they speak to you, and how far they are willing to push. This approach is not about becoming distant or unapproachable. It is about being intentional. You can still be kind, supportive, and cooperative without making yourself completely predictable. Maintaining some level of uncertainty does not make you dishonest. It makes you controlled. And control allows you to operate from a position of strength rather than reaction. If you understand that power is not about being loud, but about being deliberate, then subscribe to The Less You Look. Because the less you reveal without purpose, the more control you maintain. In a world where people are encouraged to reveal everything about themselves, there is an advantage in restraint. When your limits are fully visible, they can be measured, tested, and eventually reached. But when your limits are not clearly defined, people hesitate. They become more careful, more respectful, and more aware of their actions. And in that hesitation, you retain control.